Have you compared your recent utility bill to last year's? The cost of power is climbing at twice the rate of inflation according to U.S. Consumer Price Index. With Florida's major utility providers winning bids to raise the rates, lawmakers are advancing reforms to the state agency that approves increases. Take a look. Florida's Public Service Commission, commonly referred to as PSC, is best known for its role as the rate setter for investor-owned utilities. It recently approved a nearly $7 billion rate increase for Florida Power and Light, impacting some 12 million customers. It is the largest rate hike in U.S. history. Filed on the heels of that increase is Senate Bill 126. It calls on the PSC to justify affordability when setting rates, among other reforms. Here's how the proposal breaks down. The number of PSC commissioners would increase from 5 to 7 and include 1 certified public accountant and a chartered financial analyst. It requires PSC to adequately support its conclusions, explaining in more detail. Also, the PSC must provide explanations when accepting or denying settlement agreements with utilities. And finally, the PSC would need to report back annually on public utility rates to include benchmarks, as well as analysis on economics, costs, return on equity, and executive compensation. One provision that was dropped from the original bill would have capped a utility's return on equity, which essentially is the profit margin investor-owned utility companies are allowed to have. The recently approved rate increase for FP&L included a nearly 11% return for investors. Senate Bill 126 cleared its last committee stop with unanimous approval. And the bill's sponsor for this is Don Gates of Crestview. Patrick, this is a topic that you've looked at for the newspaper for a number of years. Yep. Your response, your reaction?
Well, okay, he's making an effort, but this doesn't go far enough. We should cap what the increases are per year. 5%, 2%, whatever it is, but consumers can't just do whatever the electric utilities want. Number 2 is the PSC should be elected. Right now, the PSC is doing the bidding of the electric companies. It has forever. And if they were elected and they had to go to the voters to get their position, I think they'd look at life a little bit differently. The other issue is that there's no real reforms in here on the fact that these electric companies are able to charge us for new plants before they build them, and that we are the insurance company for the electric utility. So when they have a loss during hurricanes, we pay them 100% of their loss. Who does that? They don't have any skin in this game, and the bill they present is one that we pay. We don't audit it. We don't say, hey, that was a 30-year-old telephone pole. Why am I going to pay for a new one? We should have replaced it anyway. Exactly. And so this is just the consumers are really getting hurt here. It continues to be bad. And let's all remember that the governor appointed each one of these people. So the governor can't say, oh, we need to do something about it when he's keeping appointing people who aren't doing something about it.
And so Senator Jason Pizzo, who is a no party affiliation in South Florida, he has said that he supports not putting a cap because he says, I'm not for capping. I think that that's socialism. Kim?
Well, they are monopoly. You can't get more socialistic than that. I'm in agreement with Patrick. I mean, it seems like any time and every time they go before the commission, they get whatever they ask for. I'm a TECO customer. I will say one thing for them, positive, is that until Milton, I never lost power, so kudos to them. But I think their guaranteed returns and all that sort of thing, I don't go along with that. And I think it should be COLA, because the rest of us are subjected to COLA, so why shouldn't they be subjected to COLA? And I think
when you say COLA, can you explain what the acronym is?
On their increases as well as their guarantees of return. Nobody should.
Living.
Yeah, they should cost of living. They should not be getting carte blanche. So I'm in total agreement with Patrick here. I think. Any stab is a step in the right direction. Sure. It needs to go farther. I think we all agree with that. But, at the end of the day, we all want the electricity to work, right? I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we want.
And Jacob, this seems to feed the move of several municipalities to go the route of municipally owned utility companies. We know that St. Pete is in the process of studying that, Clearwater.
Right. No, we've definitely seen that in Pinellas, and I think about TECO customers, especially earlier this year they paid some of the highest electricity rates in the nation, and when you look at when this previous rate hike, I think last year, that went into effect in January, when it went before this commission, what they cited as a reason for approving this was, TECO is in a place that's highly vulnerable to hurricanes. But when you really look into that reasoning, right, and you see that TECO has a mechanism through which they can recoup their losses, it starts to make you question kind of the reasoning that allowed this rate hike to take place, to begin with. You couple that rate hike and then the mechanism they were using to recoup from their losses, and that leads to really, really high bills. So I don't know. I obviously I've not seen
it just seems like the consumers are really not following this as closely as they should. I don't think that when I look at the data that's on their websites, it's all written there. But how many consumers go to their website to look at and really dig into the information on why the rate hike and the transparency? I mean, transparency is only good if you're looking and understanding and really filtering the information.
Maybe they've just given up?
Yeah, I think they don't think they can do anything about it, and they can't. I mean, they really can't. I mean, right now the electric companies make deal with some of the bigger electric users to cut down their rates. Where are we in this? We're subsidizing some big companies who are eating a lot of electricity, and for their profits. And so it's a system that doesn't work. If we're going to have these monopolies, I'd much rather them be owned by government, because government doesn't have to make a profit. And we certainly would save at least 10% of our bill right there.